All right, students, in this video, what I'm going to be teaching you is about the basic of uh, 3D animation, or how to animate 3D objects in the software. Okay, so basically, what you need to do is you're going to be accessing the panel down here, right? So this panel is what you call the timeline. Okay, so this is the timeline, and then what you see here, these numbers, these are all you call this the ruler. All right, okay, the number for the rulers, and I mean the ruler for the timeline. And then you see this white highlighted bar here. You can actually click and grab it. This is your active time slider. Okay, so if you're familiar with watching video and all that, so this should be very familiar. Okay, so and then on the right side there is the player. All right, so where you can hit the play button and you will see it plays, right? So by default you see it moves really fast. Okay, there's something that you need to do later on before you start animating. All right, so and then down here on the left and the right side, okay, basically if you see it start at 1 and then it finish at 120, so it's equivalent to 1 here and 120 here. But in total the animation length is actually 200. Okay, so if you want to see the full length that you have set, you can drag this bar and you will see 1 to 200 over here. So you can actually zoom in and zoom up by using this slider bar here. So you can also grab in the middle here and somewhere, and then you can just slide it within timeline. So let's say if your animation is 400. Okay, so if you need longer than that, you can type in over here at the end 400, then you can actually get a 400 duration. So it's very flexible. You can adjust to your liking. Okay, for this animation I'm going to put it by 100. All right, and it's going to maximize the full view of the 1 to 100 here. Now what is the number that you see here in the ruler? So basically this is not actually in seconds. So normally if you have familiar with editing video or editing audio, the timeline here is basically will be stated as 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So these are in seconds, but in Maya what you see here is not in seconds. By default is actually in frames. Okay, frames, like a picture frames. Okay, so let me explain a little bit some basic about what is frames got to do with animation. Okay, so basically let's go back to the board here, the MS Paint. Basically let's say in the timeline, so let's say if I have a timeline here, and this is, let's say this is a span of in the span of, let me undo that. So this is in the span of 1 second. All right, so it's like 0 to 1 second. Okay, 0 to 1 second. So normally when your playhead move across the timeline, it will basically show images in frames, okay, a sequential frames that will flash in front of your eyes with the speed of the player head. Okay, the player head will be moving somewhere from here and then it move all the way over there. All right, so inside that duration you can determine how many frames you need to be put inside this timeline. Okay, this duration of 1 second. So this is what you call FPS. Okay, not first person shooter, is frames per second. Okay, frames per second. So how many frames of sequential images that will be lined up here in one particular second. Okay, so normally, typically we have 24 frames per second, and then we have 25, and then we have 30 frames per second. Okay, so what's the difference of all this? In the cinema, if you go to the standard cinema, not the IMAX one, just the cheapest ticket, all right, is usually 24 frames per second. So you will see that slow, less, that slow frame rate. Okay, the frames, the FPS, basically give that cinema feeling. You know, is the movement is not really super smooth. There's a little bit of lagginess. So yeah, you can try watch video on YouTube and try to find like 60 frames per second, and you will see the motion is more smoother. All right. So the higher the frame rates, or the higher the amount of frames that you can put in 1 second, it will record more smoother motion. So this equal to smooth motion, right? So this will be, of course, less smooth. Okay, so like that. That's how it works. Okay, so see all that frames will be lined up here to fit in 1 second. So if you choose 30 frames, there will be like 30 frames here to fit in this time frame, this 1 second. All right, I hope I explained that you understand what I explained here. Okay, so let's have a look at the case study here. So let's go back to the timeline here. Okay, so first you need to basically determine the speed of your frames per second. Like when I play here, wow, that's not really even 1 second. Like that's just like 1 second, and it's like go through all the way to 100 frames. That's crazy, right? So first, if you want to set, let's say if you decide you want to go with the standard one is usually 25 or 30. Okay, for the class here, we just use 25. Okay, 25 frames. So if you want to set to 25, you go over here and then you click this option and you choose 25. Okay, so if you need like more, so you can go all the way to like crazy 4,000 48,000 frames per second. That's like crazy. So yeah, so you choose 25 here, but if you play now, you see that the spacing is a bit different, right? So let's just put this back to 100. Sometimes it just shifts things a little bit. So when I play, that's still very fast, right? Okay, why does this happen? Why? Because you need to go to the time configuration over here. Okay, just go to here, time slider, okay, and then here in the time slider here, you see, yeah, we already set to 25 here. But let's look at the playback, the speed. See, the playback is actually stated as play every frame. So that's not really playing in real time speed that we have set. So we have to change this to 25 FPS times 1. So if you put this times 0.5, it will be slower, like a slow motion a bit. Times 2 will be more faster, double the speed. So you want to choose 25 frames per second times 1. Okay, so then you hit save, and now let's play back. You will see it move slower now. Okay, so by right, because I set 25 frames per second, so when the playhead hits here, so this will be 1 second. Okay, then of course 25 times 25, 50. This should be the duration of 2 seconds. Okay, you can even time it on your stopwatch, and when you play 1, 2 seconds, right? So this is 2 seconds. So total we have about 4 seconds of animation here, because it'll be finished until 100. All right. Okay, so that's how you set up properly the timeline here. Okay, so now let's start to perform an animation. Okay. All right. But before that, let me show you something. Okay. I need to explain a little bit more about the theory behind this. So basically, how animation works is start out with this invention that our like last time when they created this invention called the persistent of vision. Okay, persistent of vision. What it means is all these frames. Imagine you have like a bunch of photos that you have captured, all right, and slowly, in and all this motion is basically, if you see, like, if you have them uh line up in sequence, like first it was here, second frame it was a bit higher and higher and higher. So what you see, if you flash this um bunch of drawing in all these sequential papers, okay, all these papers in sequential formation, so what you get is basically a motion. All right, so this is what I call the persistent of vision. So this method is something related to the flipbook. Have you heard of flipbook before? Right, flipbook. So flipbook, something like this. I'm sure back during the school days, you have your tic tac textbook. You're like so bored, and you kind of like, maybe there are gifted friend that can draw and like animation. They will kind of draw at the edge of the textbook and draw like a stick man fighting, and then they show you once they completed maybe about 100 frames they have drawn, and then they flash in front of you. All right, and remember, when they flash in front of you, if you flash it slower, the motion will seems to be slower, but if you flash it faster, the motion will be more smoother and faster. So basically that is basically like the playback that you see in here, the speed that it controls. So that is basically what of course, before flipbook there is more older discovery, but yeah, this just want to simplify the explanation. So flipbook is something a bit more easier to relate to what is FPS, and how does all from flipbook it's transformed to all this computer technology that handles animation. Okay, so obviously flipbook is not the first discovery. There is other things like Zoetrope and all that, but yeah, let's not go too deep into history, but just something to explain how the concept of these things work. All right, so but this is something related to from the history that it evolutes and become what we are seeing now. Okay, so let's start to create an animation. All right, so an animation, let's create let's say a cube. Okay, we have a cube here, and hit the W, select the cube, move it above the grid, and then just push it on this side, right? So you want to also change the menu here to be a channel box. Okay, so this is a channel box here. You can, if you somehow do not find this, you can turn this on here. This tree is about attribute editor and also the channel box. Okay, so a channel box will show you minimal properties that relates to the 3D object that you selected. See, if I don't select, you don't see anything here. If I click, you will start to see some information. All right, so how to perform an animation is basically the use of the concept of keyframe. Have you heard of keyframe before? Okay, key frames. So a keyframe is basically like, if you have a timeline, it will record at some point of a point of recording, okay, of some value of the 3D objects. Usually in this case is the coordinate like the position, rotation, and scale of the object. Let's say here. So it records in the timeline. So let's say somewhere around this timeline, this is the keyframe that records the position, rotation, and scale. So as the timeline moves to the over here, so we want to add, maybe the ball have moved to this side, and how to determine that, you will add another keyframes. So these are the keyframes that will record the position, rotation, and scale of the value of this ball. And when you play ahead, you will see that it will translate between one place to another. Okay, so let's do that. So let's say I don't want it to start straight away. I want it to start at frame 10. So you want to move the playhead to frame 10. And you can see here in the cube here, properties, you see the translate X, Y, and Z, which means you can record the X, Y, and Z position, rotation, X, Y, and Z, the rotation, all right, of the X, Y, and Z here. And also you can record the scale, R for scale, right? So you can record the scale value here. See the value changes, all right? So this basically, you can even type the value you want, okay? So to get it to move to a certain position. All right, so go back to move W, all right? And let's start recording. Okay, before you start your animation, you should always check your this one here, okay, 25 frames per second, and check in your time configuration here. Make sure it's 25. It's stated there as well, and the playback is ×1. 25 frames per second ×1. Okay, hit the save button, and you're good to go to animate, and you can adjust, put how many frames you need inside here. Okay, so select the model and move to frame 10. Now to add the first keyframe to record this value at this current time, you need to initiate it first. Oh yeah, and also another thing, it's good that you turn on the auto keyframes basically. All right, so it's over here. Okay, so I explain to you what this is after this. So you must turn it on. Okay, and now you want to do the first initiation. Okay, so to do that, you just hit the S key. All right, S key on the keyboard. See, you will see that red line appear at frame 10. Okay, so at frame 10 there is this red line. So this means that when I unselect, you see, you don't see that red line. That is the keyframe. You don't see that. But if I select the model, I can see the keyframe over there. And if you look at the channel box here, you'll see there are thick red color at these all the boxes for this translate X, Y, and Z and rotate and everything. So which means these have been recorded at this current time at frame 10. So then we move ahead of time to, let's say, frame 30. Okay, what we're going to do is you notice that once I move it out of that area of frame 10 to frame 30, notice that the bar color here is now light red, which means in the timeline there is a keyframe applied to it, but it's not at that area. There's no keyframe at that area, but somewhere in the timeline there is keyframe, which is of course over here at frame 10. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I will just use the move again, and then move it on the X, because I'm looking at the front view here, from the front here. So put my mouse at the X red color arrow, because it's highlighted, it's actually red. So click that, and then I just click and move it over there on the other side, to the right side of the screen. You notice that suddenly there is this new red keyframes created at frame 30. All right, now if I scrub the timeline, if I just click and drag the timeline, you see we have an animation. All right, now let's take a look at the properties here in the channel box. So when you look at it, there are a lot of it have a light red color, but only one translate X is the bright red color. This one, which is what does it indicates? It indicates that actually the only keyframe that is being recorded at this timeline is translate X. Because remember what I did there is I just move X. The rest are not automatically recorded. Why is it automatically recorded? It's thanks to the auto key that we have set. All right, so this will help to make the animation process much more faster. We don't have to, click S many times. Okay, but if I click the S at this point of frame 30, okay, let's say now, see, it will record everything here at this current time. Okay, still no difference. It's just that all of the other transformation, even though I did not manipulate, is still recorded, but at frame 0. I mean at the value of 0. Okay, so yeah, so that is basically how auto key works. It only records what I do to it. So for example, if I go let's see, if I go to frame 40, I just move this slightly further away, or maybe, all right, so you see it record X. Let's see if I pushed I push this lift this Y up. You see now I have Y up recorded, so it will create this kind of animation. All right, okay, so that's how auto key works. Now you can hit the play button and observe your animation speed. Okay, so it's like that. All right, so that's the basic. Now I'm going to teach you how to do more things in the timeline here. Okay, if you try to select the keyframe, can you be able to do it? No, right? You won't be able to do it, because that's not how it works. In other application, basically you can just click the auto key and then you can just move it around. But in Maya, it doesn't work like that. Okay, so in Maya, you have to highlight the keyframes like this. You need to hold shift on your keyboard. Okay, and then you click and drag a selection like this. So make sure the keyframe is in the range of the selection, and then put your mouse. There's like three area of arrows here: beginning, the end, and the center. If you put at the center, your mouse at the center, you'll be able to slide the keyframe left and right. And you click again anywhere, or you just click here, it will cancel the selection. So by doing that, I'll be able to shift the keyframe back and forth. Okay, so you can also do multiple selection like this. If I hold shift from here and click and drag, okay, left click and drag my mouse. Now, if I click in the middle here, I can shift everything to start a bit later so that the animation doesn't start earlier. Or I can squeeze my animation. I can put my mouse at the edge of the arrow here, and I can actually squeeze that to make everything move faster. Because the concept of keyframe here, the further apart each keyframe to each other, the more slower the motion is. The closer it is, the more faster. So let's see. Okay, so I try to make it super close like this. When I play, it's going to be very fast because it takes less frame to get to one point. Okay, so if I want to make it slow together, I can just highlight that and just drag it even further. Now it's going to be super slow. All right, that's one of the animation principle is called timing. Okay, how do you time the speed? So how do you time the speed is up to you through your observation of moving object. Okay, so That's how you control the timing. Right. How to delete a keyframe? Okay, let's say I don't need this keyframe. Oh yeah, before that, you notice once I shifted it, you see the line have become a dotted line. If you see this line of keyframe become a dotted red line, this means that the keyframe is actually placed not in a rounded number of frames. It's no longer at frame 30, 31, 32. No, it's basically at a decibel value. Like for example here, this will be 32 point something. Okay, if you want to know exactly, you can move your mouse here like this, move the slider here like this, and then you go click this button. It will snap to the nearest previous keyframe. See, it's at 33 point something. So let's click this one. You see 23.76. Now, why does this happen? This happen only because if you try to squeeze it or stretch it like this. All right, how to get it back to a rounded number? Okay, to get it back, you can highlight them, the one that have the dotted line, and then you can hold just right click at any at the bar here that the the highlighted bar here. Just right click and then choose snap. Okay, let's do that again. Select this, right click, snap. There you go. Now it sticks back to a rounded number. So this is 34, this is 24, this is 12. Right? But if you do that again, it will go back to being a dotted line again. Okay, so you have to like keep doing this. But there is a better way for you to ensure all your keyframes are in a rounded number. So to do that is you can right click at the timeline and then check the auto snap keys checkbox over here. Okay, so now it's checked. So if I do that squeezing and stretching the timeline, it will automatically turn it into a rounded number. Okay, remember, always animate in a rounded number. You make it easier for you to update your keyframes. Okay, so one of the cool thing about the auto key is if let's say I decided to, okay, I want to modify this. I don't want it to be here. I want it to be slightly at the back. I can just move the time slider here, make sure the time slider is on top of the keyframes. And I can then move it back, and automatically those changes will apply to this keyframe because of the auto key. It will apply that. So when I play, you'll see it started from here. It reached to this point and then it goes up. Previously it was somewhere here, right? So that is the wonderful thing about having the auto key turned on. Easier for you to make iteration of and also changes in your animation. Okay, so yeah, use that wisely. Okay, the next one is how to copy paste a keyframe. So to copy paste a keyframe, for example, like this, it start from point A, B, and then C. If let's say at the fourth keyframe, I want it to be a copy of the first one because I want it to go back to original place. I can highlight the keyframes like this, right click at it, and then choose copy. And then I move to where I want to paste it. And then I go paste. So there you go, the keyframe is duplicated. Then it will go back. So this is like a way of how to reuse your previous keyframe. Okay, sometimes in certain situation you might want to reuse certain keyframes, especially if you want to do like a loopable animation, right? So basically that is the basic of animation, right? So that covers the basic of animation. Go ahead and try to animate. If you have multiple object, animated at the same time. Say here, then it goes over there, goes over here, right? So then what you get is, you know, those animation motion. If you select both of the model that have keyframes, you will see all they are all visible here and it's mixed up, right? But if you just select one, you see the one that only the one that you selected. That's how it works. Okay, I guess that covers a very basic of animation, and we shall proceed on the next tutorial with another topic. Right, bye.